Another day and another rejection. um, yeah, another rejection letter came in to my inbox this morning. Um, this one's a bit more standard, just a bit more of a standard rejection letter, which is what it is. But yeah, another one. It's very early in the process. You learn to develop a thick skin. I think quite early in a writer's career, that's pretty much what you are doing. As you build up your skill as a writer and you start sending off stories, you're simultaneously building up that sort of like mental wall that you need to kind of fight against the looming awful feeling of rejection. I've been rejected as a writer again. Countless times. I mean, this channel showcases the last year and a half of my writing here, but far before that, I was getting rejected a ton. Well, before that, so by now the skin's already been thickened. I used to work in a jail as well, and that definitely thickens your skin up pretty well too. There's not a rejection letter I can ever get that could be as vicious as what an inmate might say to you when you lock them down or you log them to the hole, whatever. But anyways, another rejection letter, and I still think I'm getting closer. I'm still certain I am getting closer. It is just a matter of time. And I think what's going to happen is when I finally get that first acceptance letter for whatever story is published first, I'm going to secretly be happy. I am going to secretly be happy that I got rejected so much. I have said many times in this channel that I don't buy into the your rejections made me a better writer. I've for myself, I've never ascribed to that, especially at this stage of the game. I've said on this channel before that my last story, Crease, the one I'm self-publishing now, by the time I was able to write that book, I was ready. I was ready to be published. A lot of authors will tell you that they thought they were ready to be published, but weren't, and were secretly happy that they got rejected so many times because it pushed them to become a better writer, and that their debut novel, their debut short story, whatever that might be, became that much better because of those rejections. I've never really believed in that. I think since I wrote that story, Crease, my writing has been good enough to get published. I have believed that ever since, and every rejection letter since then I felt was incorrect. That you're not forcing me to get any better because I'm already good enough to get into the to this level here. I'm already good enough to get through the doors. That doesn't change. That has not changed either. I think my skill has been good, strong enough to get published since that book. Since I wrote Crease, and I'm about to self-publish it here in this fall, so everyone can make their own determination on that. But I think it is. I think it is. With that being said, these rejections have pushed me further. I might have already been good enough to get published, I think. I believe that. But these stories are forcing me to get even better than that. And if I did get accepted earlier, if Crease was accepted, way back when I first submitted it, before the publisher even suggested making some corrections to it, in that whole fiasco, right? The book would not have been as strong as what it is now. If one of my short stories that I wrote, say, a year or two ago, was accepted, I would not be pushing myself to improve my craft and to improve the way I play with form and the way I tell my stories. I would accept that as a baseline. I would just say, cool, I can now be published. Cool, no need to further improve, no need to get any better. I can, rest on my metaphorical laurels and simply keep submitting stories at this level and not grow. That, I think, would be true. At this point now, looking at it at this stage, I don't think I'm ever going to stop improving or stop trying to get better. But there was a time when, yes, if I had been published very early, I would have just rested on my laurels and submitted work that is not nearly as good as what I'm doing now. In the light of what I know now, I think I am going to look back on these rejections and be happy. It's tough to say it when you're in the middle of it, because when you look back on things, you're not the person who day to day has to wake up not knowing when it's going to happen. You're not the person day to day who wakes up needing to get a win, needing to justify to themselves why they chose this career path, why they turned down more safe options in life, why they decided to buy a small fixer-upper house rather than put a nice mortgage down on a nice beautiful place. You don't have to justify to your spouse why you aren't making as much money as you could if you had put in more hours at a different job that paid more but kept you away from the keyboard. There's a lot of sacrifices that you make in this process, and not getting those wins hurts. Wins are what kind of inoculate you against the self-doubt against those sacrifices, because they always weigh on you until they pay off. And so it's easy to look back on it and say, I'm thankful. But when you're in the middle of it, it is the toughest thing in the world, and it sucks. And I'm saying that as somebody who... I've been clever enough and fortunate enough to basically be able to make this work really well and to actually be pretty comfortable. My life is quite comfortable, I have to say, compared to just most working professionals who only work 40 hours a week and just come home and relax. My life is perhaps a bit more comfortable than them, because I was clever enough to make some decisions very early in my life that got me to a position that I'm in right now. But it's tough. It's tough to be in the middle of it and be able to justify that because you want to do this forever. You want to go to that next level. You want to do this full time. And to say these rejections made me better is to sort of dismiss the feelings that you had in that moment while you were going through the struggle. And so I think there'll be a time when I look back on it, on this time period, I'm happy. I'm happy that it pushed me to be a better writer. That I am certain. But on a very emotional level, on someone who's living in the moment, I can never see these rejections as anything but a bad thing. I cannot accept them as anything other than that. Simply, the most I can ever offer these rejections is it's a bit of blood in the water. It's a little bit of blood. Some of these rejections, especially the more personalized ones that are like, it's not a good fit for us, like the one I mentioned yesterday, right? That we enjoyed it, just not a good fit, right? That's a little bit of blood in the water. That's a little bit of blood in the water. It's leading me closer to my kill, as it were, right? If you view yourself as kind of like this great white shark that's in the middle of this endless ocean looking for food, you need a little bit of blood. You need a little bit of blood to tell you that you're closing in on on your wounded prey, basically, and you can finally feast down. You're getting closer to your dinner, right? It's the same thing. That's a little bit of blood. I'm getting a little bit closer, and it's there. It's there, and that's the most I can ever offer these rejections. Is that's the most I can ever, on a very emotional level, take away from that. And so we're gonna continue. We're gonna push forward here still, and I look forward to the day that I can look back and go, man, I'm so happy. I am so happy. All right. But with that, I'm going to sign off here. I'm going to see you all tomorrow. I'm going to be doing kind of a small thing for the 500 days of doing this. I'll give an update on where everything's at in my process, and where we're at with the self-publishing, because I do have some interesting news. All right. So with that, I'll see you all tomorrow.